Mike, thanks for having me, man.
No problem. And obviously, you were a guy who played at a high level. You got a chance to see a guy who's a top 3 pick in the draft. And first off, how do you think his game will translate to the NBA?
Well, first off, I think, yes, the game has gotten smaller, but I think that's only because there aren't very many big guys that are skilled enough to run your offense through them. I think that's where Jahlil comes into play. We have to think back that the Spurs just won a championship playing inside out just a year ago. So we're not that far removed from a big man dominating the NBA when you look at what Tim Duncan's been able to do in the Spurs dynasty. Not to get ahead of myself and compare Ja to Tim Duncan, but he has that skill set offensively. When you talk about his footwork, knowing how to man that position, and I think he's going to be even better in the NBA because he's going to have more space. The thing I'm looking at with being drafted by Philly is who are the guards? Yes, they have these 3 big guys, but so much of how well big guys produce at any level is about the guys that can get them the basketball. So I think Philly's going to have to do a nice job of putting some guards around, whether it's he, Nerlens, or Embiid inside when he becomes healthy, to allow those guys to flourish and be the best players they can be. But Jahlil is so skilled offensively. He's gotten better and better from the time he was in 9th grade up until his 1 year at college, changing his body and becoming the player that people pegged that he could be. But a lot of big guys, you don't see that development because they're just big. They're big, and that carries them as far as they can possibly go. A lot of times to the NBA, a lot of times it's lottery picks. But he's a guy who loves the game. He's worked hard to become the player he is. And, again, I think he's going to be a very, very good NBA player being able to play in space.
Jason Capel's with us, ACC Network, and his brother Jeff, you remember him as well. He's now an assistant at Duke. And when you look at Okafor, and you just mentioned he needs guards, how do you envision those 3 big guys with their skill sets playing? Is that something that if you were coaching, you were a coach at Appalachian State, Jay, and if you were coaching, would you want Nerlens, Joel, and Jahlil on your front line? Can those 3 guys exist together in the NBA?
There's no way the 3 of them can play together. I mean, we're kidding ourselves if we're saying that. I think 2 of them absolutely can. I think when you look at Nerlens, his ability to run and be elusive, slashing down the lane, being a rim runner, I think he's a guy with his athleticism that can get out and run. I think Jahlil is a very good passer. So you could run him at the high post and allow them to take advantage of possibly some matchup mismatches they may have. I think Embiid is probably the best shooter right now of the 3. He showed at Kansas he can knock down that 12 to 15-foot baseline jumper as well as an elbow jumper. I think you're going to see Jahlil's a better shooter than what he's proven, but his bread and butter is scoring in the post. He knows how to get low position. He has a variety of moves playing in space. Nerlens is the athlete. They can get up and down. He's fast. He's athletic. He's the guy that gets his points off being that guy diving to the rim off of a double team or playing off someone else, creating opportunities for him. The 3 of them can't play together, but I tell you what, to have that 3-headed monster when they're all healthy, to be your front line, subbing in for one another and throwing those 3 bodies, big bodies at teams, could be a very strong front line. But the key, again, I'm going back to the key is you have to have guards around them.
Yeah, no doubt.
Big guys are only as around them because it's their job to get them the basketball.
Yeah, no doubt. And the Sixers, I guess, in this rebuilding process, the next step will be to fill in that guard spot. Yeah. They decide, to go with the best player available at that spot. You saw a lot of players, you saw a lot of games this year. At number 3, it was Jahlil Okafor, the best player at that spot. Or were you watching the draft, Jason, saying, man, I think they should have gone another way, or, man, there's no way they could have passed on this guy?
Well, no, I think Jahlil was the best player in the draft, and I'm not being biased saying that because of his close relationship with my brother who recruited him to Duke. Again, I watched this kid from high school on, from 9th grade on. I've watched the way he's changed his body. I watched how he played through triple teams at Duke and still averaged a double-double for a large majority of the season. People talk about his dip in play the second half of the year. The kid had a knee injury middle of the season, and continue to play through it. He had a severely twisted ankle. Those aren't excuses that anybody is going to listen to or factor into it. The fact remains he still averaged a double-double for a large part of the season. I thought if you're talking about getting what I think was the best player in the draft at number 3, I think Philly has to be jumping for joy. They have a cornerstone who's healthy right now, not a year from now, but is healthy from day one, that's going to come in and man the paint, score inside, and make life for everyone around him easier. Those guards now are going to get open shots because Jahlil Okafor, day one, is going to command the double team because he's so skilled, so able to score inside. If he's going against a one-on-one defense, he's going to dominate.
Defensively, your thoughts there. A lot of people criticizing him on defense, and, obviously this is a team, the Sixers, with Nerlens. They have a very good defensive player in that spot. A lot of people think Embiid is going to be a very good defensive player. What is Okafor's, future as a defensive player in the NBA?
Well, he has to get better. When you think about his time at Duke needed Jah to play 35 minutes a game out of 40. So there wasn't very much activity he could have as far as contesting shots at the rim. They needed him on the floor. He had to be in the game because there was such a drop-off if he got in foul trouble. I think he's a better defender than what he showed. I think NBA is a different game, and he's going to have to be able to guard those ball screens, where the Philly scheme is going to be to switch them. You can do that with Nerlens. You're going to have Jahlil to be able to slide his feet for 2 or 3 steps so that guard can get back in front of his man. I think he's going to be able to do it, A, because he worked tirelessly preparing for the draft out in California to trim his weight, to work on his agility. Again, you're talking about a kid that's going to work. He has to get better at defense, absolutely. I think he's going to, and I think, again, with the players Philly has around him, when you talk about the long athletes you're going to have at the wing, when you talk about some of the guys, the athletes you have on the perimeter positions on the defensive side, as well as Nerlens and Joel whenever he gets healthy, it can be a strong defensive team, and Jah definitely has to improve, but I think he's going to surprise a lot of people not having to hold back because of his team needing him on the court so drastically as he did in college.
Quick thoughts on J.P. Tokoto, second round. He's going to play on the Sixers Summer League team. Obviously at North Carolina, you got to see a lot of him as well, and he's being described as a very good athlete and a very good defensive player. Big-time
athlete, world-class athlete. Probably one of the best run and jump athletes from day one.
Of course, man. It's been a pretty eventful 5 days, hasn't it?
He's a guy that's going to make his living on the defensive end. He's a guy that's going to get deflections, going to get steals, can create extra possessions because of his defensive prowess. Offensively, he's a marvel in transition. He can get out, run his wing, and finish plays well above the rim. He has to prove at the NBA level he can knock down a jump shot consistently. He was the leading assist maker for the Tar Heels playing the small forward position. He's a guy that has a good feel for the game, can pass the basketball. He's a great defender, unbelievable athlete, but has to prove he can knock down shots consistently. When you talk about building around a big man, that's key. When you talk about Jahlil and also Embiid inside, guys that, when healthy, when you think of Embiid, they're going to command a double team. You need a guy like, if J.P. Tokoto is to make the team, but other guys as well, they have to be able to knock down open shots. And if J.P. Tokoto can prove he can do that, there's going to be a spot for him in the NBA. He's there right now because he's a great athlete. He has to prove his worth to stay in the NBA by becoming a more skilled offensive player when you talk about knocking down open shots.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you view him, you saw him play a lot, do you view him and do you say that guy's an NBA player, or is he going to have to work at making an NBA roster?
He's an NBA athlete. He's going to have to work to become an NBA player. I think you're going to see JP a lot in the D-League, a lot being able to hone his craft. He's gotten better since the season ended at Carolina. He's gotten better on his jump shot. I think he proved that at the Combine in Chicago. But he's going to have to prove now on a consistent basis that he's able to do that. Can he defend from day one in the NBA? Absolutely. Is he an NBA's type of athlete? 100%. Can he play on that other end of the court? And you see guys like Tony Allen make their living as a defender. Tony Allen is one of the toughest guys in the NBA. I don't know if we can tag JP as that, but that's the kind of mold he's going to have to fit in. If he's able to knock down an open shot, he'll be able to stick in the NBA. I expect to see him a lot in the D-League this year until he proves his worth over a long period of time, an extended period of time, that he can be an offensive player at that level.
And by the way, JP will play on the Sixers-Utah Summer League team. Those at rosters just announced. Jahlil will also play there as well, so we'll get a chance to see those two guys play in the Summer League. Jason Capel, ACC Network, giving us a little insight on the two Sixer draft choices as Okafor. A lot of people anticipating what kind of player he'll be right off the bat. He is the favorite to win the Rookie of the Year, Jay. Those odds came out today. They think he'll be the best rookie this year.
Well, he's a double-double guy, I believe, from day one. People talk about he's going to have to prove he can rebound. Well, I tell you what, in the NBA, it's a lot faster game, and it's a lot more missed shots. He's going to get 10-plus rebounds. And he's a guy, I think, as a rookie that can give you 18 to 19 points a game. His bread and butter is going to be scoring the basketball. He's going to make everyone better. And he's a guy, we talk about face the franchise, that's going to work from day one, that's going to be a solid character guy on and off the court. And I think there are brighter days to come in Philly.
Well, he's been at the workout facility starting about 6 o'clock each morning after people had kind of said that there were some thoughts that he didn't want to play here because of all the big men here. But it seems that, he's out there working his tail off. Whether he wants to be here or not, who knows? But he's at least working hard, it looks like, already.
I believe it. Again, you talk about character, and that's what you want when you're trying to rebuild, is guys with character that also have a high skill set. Jah brings both.
Jason Capel, everybody, ACC Network covering the NBA draft. Thanks, Jay.
Thanks a lot, man.